So I'm making this video as kind of like a vlog version, different from what I normally do. I try to make it more educational, but today is just pure vlog, pure reflection on 2025. And I guess the lesson that I wanted to share was that sometimes the work that you'll be doing, whether it's, a project, a personal project like me creating YouTube videos, or if it's something you're doing at work that just feels menial, that mundane, it doesn't feel like it actually progresses your career in any way. There is value in doing those things. And, a couple of the books that I read this year, I think I read like 5 to 7 books, but one of the books, was Grit by Angela Duckworth, and the other was Mastery by Robert Greene. Those 2 books kind of reinforced the nature of what work is for me, because a lot of times, like, we treat work as if it's just a way to make money versus thinking about all the challenges that we experience, whether it's, "I don't feel like talking to this customer," or, "I don't wanna have to spend 8 hours today repeatedly doing the same 3 clicks over and over again." But sometimes when something just has to be done, it the more you do the mundane, it creates almost like this next level. When you do the same thing over and over again, eventually you figure out how to do it better, how to do it more efficiently, or you're able to deeply understand something in a way you didn't before, and you're able to apply that in other arenas and other pursuits of your career, of your life. And I think that having like that mental discipline of like you might not always enjoy your work. That's the truth for most people. Even the most successful people, the people we see on Instagram and the people we idolize because their life looks so easy, they had to go through these same durations of time where there's something that they really don't want to do, but in order for them to get to that next level, in order for them to learn and to just improve, they have to do the mundane. And I think that that's something that I've sort of started to embrace, and it's showing a lot of rewards. So, for example, I work in accounting, and a lot of times the role and the nature of being in accounting is not necessarily um, it's not monetarily incentivized. So whenever you go into accounting, the kind of nice thing about it is you can go into work and for the most part expect that you're going to do the same thing today that you did yesterday, or what you do this month should generally be the same as last month. There's not a lot of things that fall outside of that norm and that routine. But in 2025, one of my personal wins that I wanted to share is that I got onto my company's bonus incentive program, which for me is pretty cool because if I'm working in a field where there's not really any incentive, it's just kind of like the goal is to get from one good paying job to the next and hopefully get some raises in between. Um, where I'm at now, my performance and the work, my output as an employee is now correlated to my compensation. So the more work I do, the better work I do, the more value that I can deliver, the more income I receive. And I love that because it's my first time in my entire career, adult working career that I've ever had that kind of incentive. And so it's exciting for me, but leading up to that point, I was going nuts. It felt like the most, mundane. It felt like I was being pushed to work 60-hour weeks sometimes without a light at the end of the tunnel because I didn't know if there would be more compensation. I wasn't sure if me working these 60-hour weeks, I finish the project, they'll just let me go. I didn't know. And the reason I worked those 60-hour weeks without anybody telling me to is because the job had to be done. And on salary, you know that just because you work more hours, it doesn't mean you're going to get paid more. Like there's some states where there's like legalities and technically they should, but in order for me to execute on these projects, it required 60-hour weeks, and I'm grateful that it was seen, those efforts, and that work to push myself and to really shine in order to get this work done. It paid off, and so I'm pretty happy with that. But in alignment with that thought of like sometimes you're just doing things and you're not sure if it's actually going to compensate you, if it's going to have any worth in your future. I thought the same thing about these YouTube videos. I was 100% just making YouTube videos for my own enjoyment, to kind of express myself, to document the things that I've been learning along the way, and to share the things that, just to share milestones in like my investing journey. And finally, I'm at this point where even though I didn't even have 200 subscribers on the channel at the time, because I had repeatedly been making these shorts, because I was able to show that I'm someone who can create videos and I can do good job editing, that created new outlets for me. So right now I'm teaming up with a local mortgage broker, and he's been helping me kind of create this skill, develop this skill into something that's my own. And I never thought that I would be really serious about creating videos or that it could ever be a career, just besides, I do this for self-expression. But what's cool is that it's become an actual like bridge for me into having a new income source. And that's exciting because it was just one of those skills I did for it was I didn't even mean to build this skill. I was just creating it for fun. And now I have realtors and people in Las Vegas businesses that have been asking for me to help them make content, which is really exciting because right now, I've just been going to open houses and helping them do like these home tour videos for free, but it's exciting for me because even though I might not be the best, I'm doing this for free, so I don't feel guilty for charging someone if they don't like it. But it's been practice. Every time I go to a realtor, every time I meet with a realtor, every time I do an open house video, every time I do an interview, it's exciting for me because it's another opportunity for me to get better and better. And it's been crazy just from one short to the next, from one open house video to the other open house video. The improvement is so drastic. And I think that for me, what's kind of helped in doing this process is I'm not focused on like whether I'm good at this or not. My YouTube channel has less than 300 followers, less than 1,000 followers. And I'm okay with that because ultimately all of this is just practice for me. I created this skill set that really did not intend to ever become a skill set. And it's exciting because now I'm able to help local Las Vegas businesses that have been asking for help creating content because they're busy running the actual business. They don't have as much time to think about like, oh, I want to create a video or I want someone to create a video like this to represent us. There really isn't that much of that. And so it feels good to me that I built up the skill just by happy accident and that it's incredibly in demand, which has been pretty cool for me. And the fact that I'm not charging anybody at this point gives me a sense of peace because I'm able to just practice guilt free. Like if they decide to post it because they like it, that's a huge compliment to my work. It means that I'm improving. But if someone doesn't want to post it, I'm not going to be offended either because for me, it really is just practice. Like I'm trying to make the best out of my camera footage, trying to make the best out of like the dialogue and the scripts and the editing. And it's exciting for me because I can see the improvement from one video to the next. And I think that's the other core focus is that I don't want to focus on just whether I'm good at something or not. I want to focus on getting better at something. And I think that the more that you just keep doing things and the more you push through the mundane, like if I didn't want to finish editing the video, if I didn't want to have to continue doing the simple inputs over and over and over again for that NetSuite integration, then I wouldn't have the opportunities that have opened up had I not done those mundane things. And normally in accounting, for me personally, I didn't want to become a CPA because I'm not that big on working with people, especially if it comes to like their finances or just like business operations, because at the end of the day, you're just kind of like a voice telling them they should do something without having very much control. And the difference between, you know, giving data that supports a business running its decision making compared to I'm sitting down and talking to somebody for an interview in front of a camera and we're just having a normal conversation about whatever they want to talk about. Tell me about your passions. Tell me about why you love this community. Tell me about like your history in Las Vegas. Those types of helping people tell their stories gets me way more excited about engaging with people, and that was something that I just learned about myself over just the process of just doing these things and just kind of jumping into, maybe I'm not going to be good at creating these videos, but I want to be good at it. And I think that the desire to want to be good at it and then the constant discipline of working on it to get better, it does show, it pays off. Like there's worth to doing that. So, what things are going to be different in 2026? There's going to be a lot more work. I mean, I think that 2025 already felt like it was a ton of work. It was a lot of overtime. It was a lot of weekends that I could have just been relaxing that I sacrificed to try and improve on creating videos and to help out other people. And I think that sometimes when you give up the comfort of your weekends and the comfort you expect in your free time, good things can happen from that. And for example, I think one thing that I did really well in 2025 was to not share my next move. Like, right, and it sounds silly to want to hide your next move. It almost makes you sound shady. But I think that it's kind of protecting your interest in something before it's fully done. You don't want to be the person that's saying, oh, I'm doing this project and this project, but then you don't complete it and then you're too embarrassed to share it and then it becomes a snowball effect of you're breaking promises to yourself. And I think that for me, I don't want to share the things that I'm doing before they're actually done, completed, papers are signed, it's put away. And going into 2026, there's a lot of exciting things happening, but I can't really talk about them or share them at this point in the story either because as excited as I am and as much as I want to talk about them, I know that the safest thing to do is to just let the cards play out and, hopefully by the end of January 2026, which is just within a month, hopefully I can share that good news because it is a really big step for myself and my wife in our investing journey, and it's exciting. It felt like this year was a lot of internal changes. There weren't a lot of external things that were different. Like I look the same, my hair is still short. I did get a different car, but that's because, I made mistakes on the previous car I owned, and that'll be another video. And I think that just going into 2026, I'm excited. And I think that that's how a lot of people feel going into a new year, is that they have all these renewed intentions. But I almost think that if they're a totally new intention, that you need to create a lot of habits and behaviors in order to support those intentions actually being executed on. So I think that for 2025, we're making some big moves, and it's exciting because it took a couple years of preparation. It took a couple years of just the mundane and the repetitiveness to feel like we were ready to take next steps. And I think that we're there. So that's pretty exciting for us. And I really am excited for the next video I'm about to make in January to kind of walk through just like the update. But so going into 2026, the things that I want to do a lot more of the same of is accept the suck, embrace the suck. If I'm not having a good time doing these mundane things, doesn't matter. It still needs to get done. And if it's my responsibility, then it's my responsibility. It doesn't matter how I feel because something has to be completed. It has to be done. And I think that 2025 was a lot of suck it up, buttercup, and 2026 is likely to be the same thing. But I think that starting to see the rewards of just embracing the suck has really paid off. The other thing that I want to kind of share is that I think my investing strategy has started to change a little bit because there was such a big hype up in Nvidia stock and tech stocks and how weighted the S&P 500 is now with just tech stocks making up the bulk of the growth in our economy. I'm trying to move away from that because there's so much talk about an AI bubble, and I'm not an economic analyst. I'm not a financial analyst, a stock analyst, any of that. But just as a person with common sense that can read financial statements and actually, watches the stock market and studies where things are, like if something is being valued correctly. If you follow the Warren Buffett strategy, if you read some of his books, it'll give you a pretty strong understanding of when a company or any industry, any sector of the stock market is being overvalued, you can kind of have some awareness and try to rebalance the scales a little bit. So I've been looking more into very, very stable stocks like waste management. And, I have a friend that has a trust. He created the trust for his kids. And I was talking to him like, what does your trust live in? Like, is it S&P 500? Is it world stock? How do you make sure that your trust is going to be there for your kids? And he said that he only buys like basically waste management and then one other stock. But if you think about it, people will always have trash. And so I think for me, just trying to be more open about moving away from the fact that if a stock is growing, it makes it really appealing. You're like, yeah, that'll to the moon with everything, right? To Tesla, Nvidia, all of the above. But I'm trying to move into something that's more sustainable and more secure right now. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. If the stock market continues to go up and tech and AI and everything just it continues to explode, that will be fantastic. I'm not going to complain because there's still benefit to me. I'm working on reading Scott Galloway's book right now, The Algebra for Wealth, something like that is the book title. And just diversifying is another form of protection that you can take in securing your investments. So I'm really trying to do that. I'm also on the hunt for some Krugerrands. Um, I learned this from, again, like my trust fund buddy. So for me, I'm not a big gold investor because my concern is that if you buy gold, but it's not in the form of like jewelry, for example, then the government can seize it like they did in the past. I think it was the 70s, 80s that they did a big gold buy up. And I don't want any gold or any of my investments to be scooped up by the government because of whatever political, economic reason. I don't want the government involved in my stuff. And I think that for most Americans, we all generally feel the same. So I'm looking at Krugerrands, and when I was asking him, like, well, isn't a Krugerrand just, another basically a bullion of gold? Like, isn't it something that the government can take back from you? And he said, technically, no, it's not. It's a currency. The same way that, if you have a Mexican peso in your jar of pennies, it's the same thing because the Krugerrand is actual money in another country. In South Africa, yes, South Africa, it's an actual currency that people can spend. And the difference between a Krugerrand and like a normal piece of gold or a silver bullion that you would buy is that it's wrapped in copper. So so I'm just so interested. Like, there's a lot of different investing avenues that I'm finally exploring and learning, and none of this is financial advice because, like, again, I just told you, I'm just doing this stuff for fun. This is not I'm not an educator in any sense of the word. But it gets me excited for 2026 because there's still so much to learn. There's still so much room to apply these new teachings, and the tenacity to want to learn has been is something that just keeps me optimistic about the future. Like this past year, I think that leaning into the desire to learn, like learn anything, learn everything, but just constantly be learning, it's given me a lot more joy and excitement about life. Because I think that when we're on social media and when we're on the internet, it's like this feedback loop of information because the government, not the government, it's a feedback loop of information because the internet, the site, the app, whatever it is, they want your attention. They want your attention for as long as possible. So they're going to feed you whatever information keeps your eyes glued on the screen. And I think that getting away from all that, like reading more books has brought me a lot of peace. Just trying to learn new things and being open-minded to hearing other people's opinions, no matter how crazy it is. Like the craziest people sometimes have the most insight into areas that you never would have thought. And so just continuing to have an open mind, never discredit someone, never think that the person in front of you doesn't have something to teach you. Everyone has something to teach you. We all have different walks of life, different experiences, and some people formulate it better than others what those lessons could be. But never underestimate or undervalue anyone that stands in front of you. Like there's always something to learn from anyone. I think that the other major lesson that I'm really trying to implement in 2026, whether I mean lesson or a New Year's resolution, is that I want to control more of my time. This past year has felt like it was a rush. It felt like everything was just go, 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 and I don't mind that, but I want to almost feel like I'm not being dragged along with every single point that we need to make. I want to feel like I can control the pace. And I think that's, going into 2026, the ability to control the pace is it'll be a different switch. I think that every deadline is set by a human being. When someone says that, oh, this is due by this day or this has to happen by this day, at the end of the day, it's only human beings that are determining what the deadline or what the schedule is. And if something is going too fast for me, because I embrace being slow. I think there's nothing wrong with going slowly and making sure things are right. But I also know a lot of people that are like, move with efficiency, move with a sense of urgency. And I understand that value, that principle to have of just really hyper valuing time to the point where it's like you want to be productive and as productive as possible, as efficient as possible. But I have a different philosophy. Anything that I'm doing, I want to fully enjoy it. I want to find a way to enjoy it. And I know that for the most part, a lot of life is not very enjoyable. That, sitting in a doctor's office and waiting for your appointment is not enjoyable. Sitting on a dentist table or whatever those things are, but I want to do it at my pace. Or when people want to hang out, being very intentional, like, do I really feel like going to this thing? Do I want to do this thing? Or am I just having a fear of missing out on memories with my friends? And I think that just that consistent trying to apply, like, is this FOMO? Or is this actually like, I just don't sincerely want to do this? I think having that awareness with what you're doing and how you're spending your time is incredibly important. Whether it is like you're thinking about it in a work sense of, do I want to work for them? Do I enjoy working for them? And where the job economy is at, I don't think it really matters whether you enjoy it or not. Like if you have to work, you have to work. But it's a balance. It's a balancing act of all the shoulds that you should have in your life, all the things you're supposed to be doing, the productivity versus I control the pace and I'm enjoying every activity that is required of me. And so it's a fine balance. I'm trying to find that in 2026. And essentially, I hope that this video is just something for other people who, who have financial goals, but are also looking for just internal growth goals to feel a little bit more at peace, right? I think that we're used to being, some of us are used to being incredibly uncomfortable for very long periods of time. And there's others of us who are in an uncomfortable place and don't want to be uncomfortable like this forever. It's not always about embracing the discomfort. Like, yes, to a certain extent, like we should live our lives outside of our comfort zones. But more than that, it's like it's picking what areas of your life are worth being uncomfortable for. So for me, creating these YouTube videos, it's like, yeah, it's uncomfortable going up to somebody and saying, hey, I'm new to this and I'm trying. It's never the best feeling, but it gets easier. And for me, it's like creating videos that I know are helping someone share their message and share their story. That feels worth it to me, like the little bit of embarrassment. I guess the conclusion that I want to give this video is essentially that sometimes there is long, long seasons of just suck it up. And you might not realize that it's good for you, that duration of just grit and holding on and pushing through those challenges and and ignoring the emotion. Just ignore the emotion sometimes. You don't realize like how those can actually pay off in the end. And I think that mentality really applies to financial discipline. It might feel really painful for the first 3 months to save an additional $200 a month, because then that means that's $200 of discomfort for you that has to go to your savings or investing. But I think the longer that you allow yourself to implement these habits, eventually you adjust. Human beings are incredibly adaptable like that. And if there's just one thing I want you to hold on to going on to 2026 is like we are strong, we're adaptable, and no matter what challenges it brings, we can overcome them. We can face them, and any challenge that you're going through, someone else 100% is going through, has gone through, will go through. Like this is the human experience. As hard as it is, it's like you just have to keep pushing, and sometimes you won't realize how beneficial something is for you until you make it to the end. And so whatever your challenges are, whatever your resolutions are, the only way that you're going to make them really have an impact is if you make them baby steps. If you translate these bigger goals into just a daily habit, a weekly habit, something that's consistently in front of your face for you to be reminded of, like, this is what I'm after. Sometimes our goals can be too spread out. If you're able to hone in on, like, what is it that you really want? Like, what is this bigger picture? And this thing that you're telling yourself that you want, are you willing to suffer for it? And if the answer is no, then it might not be something worth going after, right? It's like for me, I know that I don't want the suffering of being a CPA, because I think that the 2 years and the testing in order to become a CPA is just not worth it for me. And I think that in terms of career outlets, there's other things I want to do. And so pick your pain. Pick where you think it's worth suffering for. If you want a better financial future, yeah, you're going to have to suffer for it. It means no big trips to Disneyland. It means no Starbucks every day. And that's okay, because you're not really suffering. You're just reducing that ultra high comfort limit of, like, I don't have to make a coffee when I wake up, or it's just adjustments. It's just big behavioral shifts that will produce the most benefit for your life. And I think that having a change of attitude to just being super open to everyone that's in front of you, everyone has something to teach you, and to just focus on learning. I think that learning for me has been one of the greatest ways to find joy in life. Like the fear of the unknown becomes relinquished because you're like, I can learn about the things that nobody knows. Eventually I'll figure it out. And you build confidence through accepting challenges, because the more safe and strong you feel with challenges, then that means that the bigger challenges will just come easier to you. If you think about it, it's just an ocean. There's just wave after wave of one challenge after another. And I think that as we go through life, we expect that someday we're going to be adults and everything will be perfect and you'll never have to worry. And that place doesn't exist. There's always something to worry about. There's always the next mountain to climb. And instead of feeling like overwhelmed or upset about it, maybe just embracing it and then saying, like, that is a mountain I want to climb. And I think that maybe, if you're feeling unhappy or dissatisfied, pick what type of pain or what end goal is worth the suffering to get there. So thank you so much. This has been an awesome 2025 and an awesome year. I appreciate everybody that has subscribed to me this past year. It was a big year of growth on this channel. So thank you so much, and I hope that the best things come to you in 2026. Bye.